First story. Feels like it's happening again. My 30M girlfriend, 23F, had an emotional affair in June of this past year. It all began when she became obsessive with a yoga studio she went to and began teaching there. And the time she did it was while I was out of town, visiting my mother, who was in the hospital. Fast forward to now. She's made some progress on some personal issues she's had. An eating disorder which she believes indicates that she's made improvements in how to manage our relationship as well. I'm genuinely happy for her for overcoming her eating disorder. That being said, I don't understand how it relates to our situation. She hasn't attended IC a single time despite that being stated as a requirement to reconcile. Well, now, we live in a different city from where this took place. And today she was leaving her fitness class later than usual. So I called her. She didn't answer, but she called me back 2 to 3 minutes later. She was talking to some guy from the class. She claims that the conversation was about business in the industry that I work in. He told her to wait for her, so he could get contact information from her, and she says asked her if she has a business card. She waited, but then decided she waited long enough and claimed that she left a note with my phone number and her phone number for her friend at the desk to give to him. Shockingly, the guy only texted her surprise and asked her out to coffee so they could talk. She initially said she made it clear she has a boyfriend. Then when I was pissed that this guy was clearly trying to set up a date with her, she said maybe he didn't know I have a boyfriend. And that's where, for me, things get very dicey. She claims she gave her number for the purpose of business. The chance that this guy has any relative knowledge to my industry is slim. She claims she made it clear she had a boyfriend, but then when I'm angry at him she essentially defends him and says maybe he didn't know. Am I crazy for being irritated by this entire scenario? Am I crazy for feeling like she doesn't need to give her number to random dudes at the gym for the off chance there's some business reason for it? I tried to calmly discuss it with her tonight before bed. She made me feel like I did something wrong for bringing it up again, even though I asked extremely calmly. She said I was doing so good not even thinking about that anymore, which in my mind roughly translates to I wish you wouldn't ask any more questions about it and communicate about something that's bothering you anymore. She then asked me what I'm doing to build back my trust in her, and put it all on me that I don't trust her. The whole thing just feels like a repeat of the past, where I'm blocked off from communicating when something concerns me. Does anyone have any advice here? I'm not even sure she actually left both of our numbers, and it's impossible to communicate without it being a huge fight like I did something wrong for asking details. In my view, she went to the gym, had a chat with some guy, didn't answer my call, called back when he walked away, and left her number for the guy. I think it's totally fair to have questions about that. No? Update. Dealing with suspicions after infidelity. Girlfriend suddenly wearing makeup to the gym. To start things off, my GF had an emotional affair about 10 months ago. She invited another guy into my apartment while I was taking care of my mother, who had to go to the hospital. She met him while she was a yoga teacher, and prior to this happening I noticed that she became way too sucked into this yoga studio and the status aspect of it. Well, fast forward to now. We live in a completely different city and she's begun going to another workout class every single day, which I'm happy she found a new place that she loves. But after going for quite a bit I noticed that she's started to wear makeup to go to the classes. And she never wears makeup, maybe 10 times in the 4 years we've been together. Further, the socialization at the new workout place is now expanding from workout to gossiping. She came home the other day telling me something about one female instructor and one male instructor. They're broke up. So I've been paying attention, and she went to a female teacher's class yesterday and didn't wear makeup. But today I noticed it was booked for the male instructor's class, the newly single male instructor, and noticed that she went to get ready earlier than usual to put on makeup. It's not a ton of makeup either, it's some blush, eyeliner, etc. Not like a full face of makeup. But am I wrong to notice this and feel cautious about the situation? At the end of the day, it's clearly a sign that she's worried about how she looks at these classes. I brought it up to her, and she told me it makes her feel good, and eventually turned to telling me I don't trust her, and have no confidence in her. In fairness, there have been times when she's gone to classes taught by women, where she also wore the same makeup. But just while paying attention to the pattern this week, it seemed that it wasn't a priority yesterday, and was a major priority today. I simply fear that the attention-seeking behaviors that got us here in the first place are still on display in this situation. And her telling me how the two instructors makes me more questionable about the situation because it's not something we even talk about, so I'm not sure why she found it noteworthy and like something she wanted to share. I would appreciate any thoughts here, even if the thoughts are you're just being insecure. Does anyone have a similar experience? Update. Anyone pull the plug a year after D-Day? My GF had an EA while I was out of town taking care of my mother, who went to the hospital. She invited another guy into my apartment. Have any of you just realized way later that it's just not going to work? I still feel anger. I still feel resentment. I still don't trust her. And I do feel compassion because I genuinely believe she may have BPD or something similar. Not a diagnosis, I'm far from a professional. But I just really don't feel like I'm going to ever get past this. Has anyone else realized much later they won't get past it? Update. 1 year after D-Day, am I wrong EA while my mom was in hospital? Hello. I've posted my story here a few times before trying to make sense of everything, and still trying to make things work. Long story short, my GF, 24F, had an emotional affair while I, 30M, flew back home to take care of my mother who was in the hospital. She lied to me and said her girlfriend was coming over, instead a guy from her yoga class, she was teaching yoga at the time, came over. Now, here we are a year later, and she is still unwilling to see my view on navigating things, and makes zero effort to do so. The most recent issue tonight is here. So since the affair we have moved and no longer live in the same city-state as we did before. We planned on moving anyway. This event accelerated it. As I mentioned, what happened was with someone she met while teaching yoga. The entire atmosphere and feeling I had while her attending and teaching at this yoga studio was off-putting. There was a lot of gossiping, status, etc., etc. that seemed odd among the yoga teachers and people who attended. Fast forward to now, she is going to group setting fitness classes, and has been basically since we moved to the new city, nearly daily. She was invited to go hang out with all of the instructors people who attend regularly in a strictly social non-fitness setting. When she told me about this, it came with some mix of other, gossipy information. About this girl instructor is no longer in a relationship with this guy instructor, or whatever, something to that effect. I told her that I would prefer if she kept her fitness place as a fitness place, and not some gossipy, social place. And that I didn't really want her to go there and start being social with especially guy instructors who she will then continue seeing on a frequent basis while going to classes. She didn't go. She also never let it go. This was a few months ago at this point. And a few days ago she brought up to me how she wants to be social, and how she feels like that situation was unreasonable and I should be fine with her going to something like that. She also has made friends with one of the girls who works at the new fitness place. Said girl was in a long-term relationship with a manager at the fitness place. They broke up. Now my GF is getting all of the gossip about the fitness place. So she shared the gossip with me. This girl is fucking that guy and that guy is banging this girl, and the girl's boyfriend hooked up with some other girl that was supposed to start working there. And these two trainers used to date, but they don't anymore, but they are still all over each other, even though the girl has a new boyfriend and yada yada etc. And, in her words, because they never be my words, So-and-so instructor is in his fuckboy era. So after she spilled all out of this very chaotically, I told her this is exactly why I didn't really want you going to a social event with all of these people. Which, to me, felt like a pretty fair response. It sounds like a bunch of stupidity, cheating, hooking up, and debauchery. It felt like an environment you don't really want your partner with a history of infidelity to be involved in. She told me that what I said was inappropriate. She got extremely defensive. She said she regretted telling me, and that I was being judgmental. I remained calm and tried to have a calm conversation. She didn't remain calm. Instead, she was talking to me in a very aggressive way, speaking down to me and telling me that I was completely inconsiderate of her feelings since the other night. She told me I should be fine with her going to things like this. She later said that what I said was insane and inappropriate, but I really don't feel as though it is, and she has made no effort to see my side. Am I being ridiculous to stand by what I said? Am I wrong to not want my GF with a history of infidelity to root herself in a social circle like this? Update. Every disagreement has to escalate to a fight or tantrum. Girlfriend with BPD. Hello. Is it normal in your experience for every single disagreement to turn into an escalated fight? Like, it's impossible to disagree and then engage in a conversation where we both aim to see each other's side. Instead, at the moment of disagreeing, or saying something they don't like, they immediately unleash angrily, cut you off, speak over you, tell you you're being inappropriate in regards to discussing a boundary. An example for me being last night, she already cheated on me once, with a guy from the place she taught yoga. We live in a totally different state now, and slowly but surely she is on the path of treating the workout class place like a social hall. She's telling me how some dude slept with some girl and some girl broke up with some dude, got a new BF, but still is so lovey with old guy. One of the trainers is in his, her words, fuckboy era whatever, bunch of bullshit. These same people involved in these stories, one of the girls, are the same people who invited her to hang out in a strictly social setting with all of the people from the workout class place. I told her, this is why I didn't really want her going to something like that, because who really needs to be involved in all that shit? After her infidelity, I really don't want to be fucking worried what's going on at the workout class place. So I told her I would prefer if she doesn't go to purely social events with these people, at some girl's house, apartment, whatever. She immediately became infuriated. She told me that I was being inappropriate. I still don't trust her. She cheated on me 1 year ago. She regrets telling me about it, that what I said was insane and I was being judgmental. She started talking extremely intensely, per usual anytime we have a disagreement, making faces as if I'm the dumbest person on the planet. Went on 2-minute-long intense monologues, that I calmly wait until she's finished. And when I try to calmly respond and explain my stance, she bulldozes over my thoughts, my feelings, interjecting to tell me that I never take accountability, it's always her and she's done with this conversation. Then she tells me she doesn't feel heard, all while never allowing me to express my feelings, my thoughts, etc. But when she's done with the conversation, it's always a trap. If I give her space, then she says I don't care about her. If I don't give her space, then she becomes increasingly demeaning, rude, and condescending, and then tells me that it's my fault because she said she was done with a conversation and I continued. There's no way to communicate. I either have to swallow how I feel about something, which I refuse to do, or almost guaranteed have a massive fight on my hands that lasts 4 hours and hours and never stays on the actual topic. By the time we make up, I still feel as though I never got to actually have the conversation. I feel like we just spent hours on calming down and putting a band-aid on the situation while completely ignoring the initial topic. Last night this all got so intense that at 3 a.m. I was having a panic attack in my living room. This is the second time I have had a panic attack ever in my life. The first one was about 10 days ago due to a similar situation. During the panic attack she did all of the following. Asked me why I'm ignoring her, told me that it's very late, and I know how important it is for her to go to sleep at a reasonable time. Continued talking down to me, saying she has no idea why I'm reacting this way, and that she didn't think things were this bad to trigger a panic attack. Did make some attempt to try to calm me down, in a way that came across as irritated that she had to deal with this, and felt devoid of any real compassion. When things finally calmed down, I tried, again, to talk to her. Very calmly. She again began talking down to me, being disrespectful, rude, and making me feel as though the entire thing was a major inconvenience to her, and her busy day tomorrow today. I would love any thoughts, ideas, or anyone who can relate to all of this to let me know, please. Second story. Follow-up to wife who cheated with construction workers and/or boss. I shared a story over the weekend about my wife going to Nashville and KY for an out-of-town work trip. She supposedly rode with her boss and his wife from the airport and to her boss's boss home. She stayed there for 2 days. On the way back she left at 11 a.m. for a 4 p.m. flight. It takes 2 hours to get from where she was on KY to Nashville. I thought it was odd that she left that early. We spoke at 11:18 her time for 20 minutes. Her transactions show that she went to a fast food place at 12:06 and then Walgreens at 12:45. She bought lipstick and lip gloss. I looked up on Google Maps that it takes 1 hour and 21 minutes to get to the airport from Walgreens. That means she would have arrived in Nashville around 2 p.m. 2 hours before flight leaves. I called and texted her around 2 p.m. her time asking how her trip was going. No response. Sent a voicemail. Sent another text around 2:15. She sends me a text at 2:26 her time saying she's trying to follow directions to parking lot B. It's been almost 30 minutes since she should have arrived at the airport. Does it really take 30 minutes to find the parking lot? This is where the story gets crazy AF. She said that she drove into a construction site near airport and saw 2 young construction guys in a truck. She flagged them down and asked for directions. She then asked them to drive her to the airport in her boss's car that she was borrowing. There's no way workers at construction site would do this. Why she told me this I have no idea. Picture that she sent to her boss shows at 2:50 she parked the car at parking lot B. 50 minutes has elapsed in her finding parking lot B. If you've been to Nashville Airport, I'd like to hear opinions on this. She then texts me at 2:51 her time saying she's making her way to the gate. I spoke to her minutes before she boarded. She was angry and defensive when I told her that it was a very stupid idea to let strangers drive her anywhere. When I picked her up from the airport she had to use the bathroom quickly. She was in there for a long time. I noticed that when she took a shower after getting home, she did not have any panties on. It looks like she didn't return with any panties. It looks like she was going commando that day. Pretty sure she ditched panties at airport. The update after she arrived back, she slept all day the day after she returned. Complained of nausea and stomach pains. She took allergy meds for some reason. Her panties later that day had spotting period-like marks. She told me her period ended the day she flew back. I confronted her and she denied everything. For context, she's had emotional affairs for first 10 years of marriage and had a physical affair in 2013. I stayed for kids. I'm leaving soon. Thoughts? Third story. Is this normal behavior for my wife around my guy friend? My wife, 36F, and I, 38M, have been married 10 years, 2 kids, and get along well. She's still very attractive, works out, takes care of herself. When it comes to most of my friends she's polite, but I can tell they aren't exactly her cup of tea, which is fine and perfectly normal. On the other hand, I have one good friend from work. He's also married and has kids. She and his wife get along but don't see each other much. She has mentioned to me before that he's definitely my most attractive friend and that he's her favorite friend of mine. The last time we ran into him at a kids' sports tournament, he was also there with his family. Me and him are good friends, so I talked to him. My wife came over and they hugged. She seemed very happy. It struck me as a bit odd. She's never hugged a friend of mine, or any other guy when I've been around. Struck me as odd. It's been a few weeks and it still crosses my mind. Wife overly affectionate hugging guy friend of mine she's expressed attraction to.